Hello and welcome back, everybody. Today I am here with my parents. Today this is going to be a Saiyan Family reaction.
Greetings.
I am Beast Gohan.
I am Dragon Ball's AMV.
Or if you prefer, Legend the Super Saiyan.
But we also have one more member that has joined our squad.
If she's even listening. And the one who just made the sound of like a kitten is Blue the Saiyan. Today we will be reacting to 4 videos from the same guy. But as a disclaimer to everyone and up to YouTube, we do not own these videos. And after the stream I have put the videos down in the description below. And please show this guy some support, because from what I have watched, he makes some pretty good content. And if you guys do like the reaction, please be sure you like and subscribe, comment, and be sure you hit that notification bell to be notified of whenever I go live or post a new video.
The same goes for me and Blue.
Indeed. I have also posted their YouTube channels in the description below as well. So be sure, you go over there too and subscribe, and be sure you hit that notification bell for them too, to be notified of whenever they upload anything.
Now, without enough yammering, let us continue, shall we?
Without further ado, let us get the show on the road.
Let the show begin. Without further ado, let the show begin.
Just like this. It's actually not hard, especially using Adobe Express. So let me.
Hey guys, Super Horror Bro Mike here, and in today's video, we take a look at every Five Nights at Freddy's game to see which is the scariest of all time and why. We won't be looking at fan-made games and mods here, although if you would like me to cover these in a separate video, just let me know in the comments below. Instead, we focus on creator Scott Cawthon's 8 main entries, including this year's VR debut, Help Wanted. There's a lot of ground to cover and games to play, so let's begin at the bottom of the stack with the least scary entry as we work up to the scariest
Time.
Number 8, Sister Location.
Now this ought to be interesting.
Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location, the 5th entry in the FNAF franchise, divided fans at the time of release because it took a radically different approach to both its presentation and gameplay. Instead of taking place in one room with a simple gameplay loop built around it, Sister Location had several different locations to traverse. Set inside Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, a warehouse where animatronics could be rented out for children's birthday parties, the player must crawl from a central hub area through vents to different rooms within the facility, each with minigame-based objectives to complete. Much of the game is full of dorky humour, story exposition, and long stretches where the player is completely free from danger, and as a result, Sister Location feels far less nerve-wracking and challenging than other entries in the series.
I see what you were trying to type, and I will auto-correct it for you. Thank you for selecting Casual Bongos.
Although it should be noted, the game does contain a secret ending where we return to the classic FNAF gameplay formula as we try to escape one of the series' most terrifying animatronics, Ennard.
He is one creepy thing. 8.
Said to be a representation of William Afton's Hell following his demise at the end of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator, Ultimate Custom Night isn't a standard FNAF game. Instead of featuring a strong narrative, Custom Night, as the title suggests, is a customizable collection of wave-based game modes. It allows the player to pick from a bounty of different animatronics found in previous FNAF titles, selecting their difficulty levels before spawning them into an ever more challenging environment to see how long we can survive their advances. Each animatronic features a minigame or survival method built around them we must memorize and act upon if they decide to attack. There is a great deal to remember, and on harder difficulties, the game becomes a near impossible barrage of enemy waves that few have managed to overcome. Custom Night certainly contains its fair share of jump scare moments, perhaps more than any other game in the series. But because of its unrelenting bombardment of scares and its goofy premise, it soon becomes far less scary than a normal FNAF game. Instead, it has the power to frustrate more than terrify.
Number 6.
Yeah, that is true.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 features perhaps the biggest departure from the original game's art style out of any of the following sequels. The animatronics certainly looking far less creepy as a result. This is the main reason why, at least in my opinion, FNAF 2 is far less scary overall than many of Scott's other games. The enemies just look far less intimidating. That's not to say that FNAF 2 is devoid of scares though, in fact it's actually pretty creepy overall. The mechanic of hiding behind a Fazbear mask in the security office as various animatronics wander over to inspect us up close and personal is pretty unnerving.
It's a Bonnie! No!
And the need to keep a music box cranked adds a constant anxiety to the mix also, especially considering failure to do so means coming face to face with this terrifying puppet. FNAF 2 also features another super creepy animatronic known as Mangle, a creature made up from various pieces of scrap crudely bolted together. Mangle can hang down from the ceiling to attack from above, and is sure to keep even the most fearless of player on the edge of their seat. So while not the scariest Five Nights experience, it certainly has its moments.
That is true. That is true.
FNAF 6, also known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator, caught most fans off guard upon its initial release. The game's Steam page presented it as a free-to-play pizza simulator in the classic 8-bit style of the cryptic backstory minigames the series is known for. And sure enough, the game begins as exactly that. However, before long, it becomes apparent that as well as managing a pizza joint, we must also take part in the usual Five Nights survival horror gameplay. We play as the manager of a newly founded pizzeria and must survive in the ventilation system as we try to complete a number of noisy end-of-shift duties, such as printing out orders. The problem is the pizzeria is full of killer animatronics making a return from previous titles. Before each night, we find a scrapped animatronic mysteriously dumped in the alleyway, and we can decide whether or not to salvage them. If we mess up during this salvage operation, then the animatronic jump scares us and becomes yet another threat on the night shift.
Begin audio prompt in 3, 2, 1.
I always come back.
FNAF 6 has a genuinely unnerving atmosphere and some incredibly dark and disturbing backstory sequences, making it a very scary experience overall.
Number 4.
Power up a new Minecraft server for you and your friends with Shockbite hosting. We give you the tools you need.
Number 4. Five Nights at Freddy's 3.
In FNAF 3, we find ourselves in the role of a security guard at a futuristic amusement park known as Fazbear's Fright, with the ghost of serial killer William Afton, who now inhabits the body of the Springtrap animatronic he died in, stalking us through its halls. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 has perhaps the most chilling atmosphere of any game in this series. The idea is to make sure we distract Springtrap for long enough to survive the night. He is the only animatronic who can actually harm us, as all the other enemies show up in the form of phantom-like apparitions. They can appear when switching between camera feeds and then jump scare us, as well as shutting down power to vents and cameras, which then allows Afton to reach us more quickly. Due to the random nature of these phantom scares and the creepy way Springtrap watches us from the cameras and doorway of the office, we find ourselves constantly on edge. It's especially scary knowing the mangled body of William Afton remains within the Springtrap suit, and there's something supremely eerie about the way in which he stares us down as he calmly slinks over to attack. The dull and dimly lit sickly green environment only adds to the oppressive atmosphere. All in all, a game that is pretty uncomfortable to play.
Number 3, Five Nights at Freddy's.
As we enter the top 3 scariest FNAF games, of course we must mention the one that started it all, the original Five Nights at Freddy's. This jump out of your seat point and click experience introduced the world to a new kind of horror game, one featuring the now iconic animatronics Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica, designs that have stood the test of time with their simple creep factor. There's always been something eerie about animatronics, and Scott Cawthon took this uncanny fear to the max in the original game, where we must survive 5 nights of hell as a security guard watching the pizzeria by night. A time when these family-friendly mascots take on a sinister nature, hunting us until the clock strikes 6. Whether it's Foxy's mad dash from Pirate's Cove, catching sight of Bonnie or Chica in the doorway when checking the lights, or the power running down to reveal Freddy waiting in the darkness, one thing is for sure, the original is still to this day the scariest in many aspects and remains a classic modern horror game for that reason.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah, like who wouldn't?
Most people fear the dark at some point during their childhood, and some even carry that fear into their adult life too. There's certainly something creepy about what we can't see living in the darkness, no matter how irrational it may seem. The thing living in the closet or under the bed, and usually it's all in our mind. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 homed in on this concept by making an entire game based around the concept of surviving a night as a child afraid of the dark. However, in the darkness of this child's room lurk animatronics such as Nightmare Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and scariest of all, Nightmare. These designs are some of the most disturbing in FNAF history, because they're meant to be the ultimate nightmare version of the classic designs. As well as attempting to locate these nightmares, we also get to play a game of chicken with Plushtrap, where we must allow him to edge down a dark hallway toward us and spot him by turning on our flashlight at the last possible moment. Gameplay is very difficult as we must check both the bed, 2 doors, and closet for oncoming threats, and only the faint sound of animatronic breathing cues us to their locations. There's few moments in the series more terrifying than checking the doorway to see one of these guys right up in your face. Add to that the incredibly tragic backstory told throughout the game via 8-bit style cutscenes, and you have without a doubt one of the scariest and most unsettling games in the series.
Oh, number 1. That's all. That's always like always bad. Number 1. Help Wanted.
At number 1 we have Help Wanted, the latest mainline FNAF game and first one to officially launch in virtual reality. It should be no surprise that this is the scariest Five Nights experience, as we are literally put face to face with Freddy and his friends like never before. Fully realised in 3D, giving us the player freedom to explore environments and scares up close and personal as if we were really there. It It includes many classic moments from franchise history, including most of the ones we've covered in this very video. Everything feels much more realistic and immersive, and the new character Glitch Trap and his backstory is pretty creepy. The deeper we get into this game, the stranger the story becomes, and we discover this story via a series of hidden audio tapes which reveal the very code of the game itself is cursed and haunted.
By creating a protected area to store these logs apart from the game, I effectively gave this thing a safe place to hide itself. It's in here now. I may not be able to delete it, but I might be able to do something else now that it's attached itself.
This is both a celebration of FNAF's scariest moments and a way to introduce these characters to a new generation 5 years after the first game's release. And what an introduction it is. The scariest FNAF game by far, all thanks to the invention of VR. And that's it for today's video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy watching, and
Also, you okay, kid? You fell out of your seat.
I'm good. Okay, everyone, so that was the first video. Now we move on to the second video.
Interesting. I gotta say, it was quite interesting. Now, on to the second one, shall we?
Recording. That's got that. Hey, it's Dana from Street. We're excited to announce that
Five Nights at Freddy's is a long-running series of horror games in which the player is stalked by various animatronics haunted by the spirits of the dead. Some of these animatronics have rather morbid backstories, but all of them are highly creepy. In today's video, we take a look at the scariest animatronics from the FNAF series, taking into account appearance, scare tactics, and backstory to figure out which are the creepiest of all time and why.
Coming in at the bottom of the list was Circus.
Many of you may share a phobia of creepy-looking dolls and clowns. Circus Baby plays on these fears as her appearance includes qualities of both of these to make for a hair-raising design. Her mouth is open wide with lots of small human-like teeth, while her eyes are big and bright. Baby's midsection contains a claw which was supposed to hold ice cream cones when the animatronic was originally designed. However, there is a haunting backstory to this claw. Circus Baby used it to grab a little girl, often speculated to be the daughter of its creator, William Afton, whose spirit now inhabits this body. Circus Baby is also scary due to just how tall she is. However, despite how creepy she looks, this particular animatronic doesn't actually jump scare the player, unless we count her scrap version from FNAF 6 that is, which is maybe slightly creepier anyway. There's always something a little creepy about humanoid-looking robots. Ballora is the most human-looking animatronic and certainly has the power to evoke a chill down even the most fearless of horror fans' spines. What makes Ballora extra creepy is the way in which she silently dances through the halls of Sister Location to a spooky musical number. If a player is detected, Ballora lunges at them, her face splitting wide open to reveal a hideous sight, with piercing eyes and sharp teeth ready to bite. An additional creepiness to this character can be found with her little helpers, the mini-renas.
I mean, look at the little helpers.
Ooh!
That's really her chump.
Ennard is surely the most terrifying of the humanoid animatronics, being an amalgamation of several other scrapped endoskeletons, including Ballora, who we just spoke about. Ennard's body is a mess of wires and cables, while its face is covered by a clown-like mask. However, as creepy as this mask is, it is far less scary than what lies beneath it. The maskless Ennard is truly the stuff of nightmares. Being silently stalked by Ennard during the security camera sequence in Sister Location is a genuinely unsettling experience, as it edges ever closer with a dead look in its eyes. For many, this often comes to a close with a heart-stopping jump scare.
Is that supposed to be scary?
Foxy!
Sure, Nightmare Foxy looks scarier, and anything that hides in a closet at night, ready to pounce at any moment, is definitely something to fear. However, there really is something far more terrifying about the purity of the original Foxy and his jump scare. Foxy first appeared in the original Five Nights at Freddy's as a character who would peek out from behind a curtain in Pirate Cove, before edging to the corner of the frame and eventually charging full pelt towards the player before launching at them with a blood-curdling screech.
Over your ears!
One of the 5 key animatronics believed to be holding the decaying corpses of William Afton's victims, Foxy is also believed to be responsible for the bite of 87. This was an accident involving a person who was bitten by...
If some of you guys don't understand what that actually means, I'll let my dad explain it.
Well, specifically, there were 2 bites during the FNAF series. The bite of 83 and the bite of 87. You two do remember that all of you who hasn't played the FNAF series obviously knows that there were only 2 bites. One was from the original, one was from FNAF 4 during one of the cutscenes. In FNAF 3 was explained, the bite of 87 was explained during one of the phone calls during FNAF 2.
Let's just say it didn't go. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah. And there was one person who actually said the line, "Was there a bite of 87?"
And he goes by the name of
Markiplier.
Markiplier.
So be sure to check out his channel and subscribe to that, and subscribe to him just for that one.
Yeah. And nowadays, the bite of 87 has become a meme.
Yep.
Oh,
No matter where you go, that meme will always be there.
Yep. Let's continue, shall we?
Yep.
by an animatronic
don't
and
mind me,
lost
I'm just
their
on top of your
frontal
head.
lobe in the process in the year 1987. So yeah, there's a sinister story behind Foxy, which goes beyond his creepy appearance and jump scare.
Nightmare Bonnie.
The original Bonnie had one of the most terrifying jump scares of any animatronic from the series. He also would try to forcibly cram any human spotted at the pizzeria after hours into one of the spare suits, with little care for how they would fit in there. Even the developer, Scott Coulthon, commented on how he had nightmares about Bonnie while programming the game, and regards him as one of the most frightening characters. So Nightmare Bonnie, essentially a nightmarish-looking version of this already unsettling animatronic, is something else entirely. His presence in the fourth FNAF game is scarier, not only because of his more gruesome look, but also because of how aggressive he is, relentlessly coming after the player and making it very difficult for us to avoid him.
Yeah, that is true.
Puppets are scary in general, but the puppets in FNAF are designed to look scary from the off, and so we get this creation. Phantom Puppet is a charred version of the puppet from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This original incarnation was already something to fear, a tall, lanky design that evokes that of Slender Man, with a creepy toothless clown face and stripy limbs. The Phantom version has a burnt black body and piercing white eyes, which stare right through our soul. What makes Phantom Puppet so scary to experience is the way he will sneak up on the player in the security office and sit himself just inches in front of their face. A weird dial-up noise similar to that of a fax machine then emits from the puppet as it stares right through us.
What exactly is the sandbox then?
It's a 3D metaverse. The building blocks are
Mangle has a very disturbing jump scare noise that will shake most people pretty badly, but as well as this, she just looks horrifying. Which is ironic considering she is a version of Foxy who was, in the words of Phone Guy, redesigned to be more kid-friendly. The problem was that the kids at the pizzeria used to be a bit rough on poor Mangle and ended up pulling her to pieces on a regular basis, which resulted in the staff naming her Mangle and leaving her as a pull-apart and put back together attraction for the kids to mess around with. Imagine living out an existence where every day you were taken apart and then stuck back together. As well as this sad story and petrifying jump scare, the appearance of Mangle is just downright creepy. Her mutilated endoskeleton is so all over the place, it almost looks spider-like at times.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I feel bad for the same...
Springtrap looks horrifying. Featuring a decaying version of the original Bonnie suit design, this creepy rabbit animatronic has a very dark and mysterious backstory that is sure to make you feel a little unnerved. You see, William Afton, the creator of these suits and the evil man responsible for the murder of 5 children, ended up hiding from the spirits of his victims in this very suit before the spring lock malfunctioned and snapped closed on him, impaling Afton inside the suit and fusing his body within. The cruel and tortured spirit of this man now haunts Springtrap as he hunts down the player. In fact, we can even catch glimpses of Afton's mummified corpse within Springtrap's suit on occasion. This is both a terrifying and gory animatronic with a very disturbing backstory.
Nightmare. Oh boy.
Looking at Nightmare, you can probably tell why he ranks so highly on this rundown of FNAF's scariest animatronics. Visually, he is one of the most terrifying creations simply because he was designed to resemble a nightmarish version of everybody's favourite bear, Freddy. His suit is actually transparent, meaning that Nightmare blends into the darkness almost perfectly, and this makes him very hard to spot until he gets very close to us. While his jump scare lacks any kind of animation, it still remains quite horrifying. The tension feels palpable as we flash our light down the hallways, never knowing if Nightmare will appear just inches from our face at any moment.
Freddy Fazbear, main man himself.
As we come to the final place on this list, we also find the animatronic that started it all, the iconic Freddy Fazbear. Freddy isn't the scariest looking, his jump scare isn't the worst, and his backstory has been bested by other creations with darker tales to tell. However, Freddy is the most consistently creepy when looking at his character as a whole. From the way the power cuts out and eerie children's music begins to play before he finally attacks us,
he's like, I'm gonna get you.
To the super creepy humming we hear through the halls as an unseen Freddy begins to prowl.
That's Foxy.
The spooky flashes of his face that sometimes glitch out the security tablets, and that threatening look he shoots us from time to time. Freddy is the ultimate and original animatronic for evoking fear in players around the world. With his creation, the landscape of indie horror games was forever changed, and a terrifying legend was born, laying the groundwork for many games and even scarier animatronics to come after. But nothing quite beats the original, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for today's video.
And that was the second video, everyone. So, what did you guys think of that one so far?
Interesting.
That got me off guard for Nightmare.
You had some comments.
Well, I have to say my prayers for Mangle. Can't believe
I agree, Snowy. These ads are fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean, imagine living your entire life being torn apart and then put back together once again.
Yeah, like that's that's just messed up. Like I would take very good care of Mango. Like literally, like seriously, I would take her out of that place, like out of the pizzeria, and take her to my place. So that way she doesn't have to go. So that way she doesn't have to go through all of that crap.
Yeah, I would have done the same if it were me.
Even though Mango doesn't eat, I would still take care of her and make sure that she's like well tuned up.
I mean, I would have done the same if it were me as well.
Me too.
Okay, so everyone, now we are going to be moving on to the third video.
Be sure to comment which of these videos is your favorite.
Yes.
Ow! Owie! My neck popped.
Hey, Transplay Nerds, it's your favorite part of every session. Sponsor Connie. If you play
Hey guys, Super Horror Bro Mike here, and in today's video, we explore haunted animatronic halls as we take a look at the story of Five Nights at Freddy's fan game, Juniors, with a walkthrough of the main story, a theory as to what the cryptic ending is all about, and a look at the various animatronics and their designs. This is the story of FNAF Juniors Explained, so sit back, relax, and let's get started.
Part 1.
Buckle your pants. Buckle your pants up.
The setup for Junior's story isn't made crystal clear in the game, but it is nicely summarized on the game's download page over on the website GameJolt. Here it is suggested that we are filling the shoes of an investigator who is sent to Junior's restaurant after a series of slip-ups occurred leading to its closure. The investigation company feels that something is afoot, and it's up to our unfortunate hero to uncover what that something is. Suffice to say, they probably didn't think they'd be dealing with haunted killer animatronics. While sleeping, the investigator, who for now I will simply refer to as the protagonist, finds himself in a dark limbo-like dimension. He quickly begins to panic, believing himself to be dead. At that moment, a small white bear emerges from the darkness and introduces himself. This is Paul Bear, and he is a passive spirit who has taken refuge in this dark place, a place he refers to as the Barrens. The Barrens are a limbo dimension between life and death. A giant brain hangs in the sky above, suggesting the Barrens are connected directly with our character's subconscious after they entered JR's to begin their investigation. There are familiar sights to be found here. Freddy, Bonnie and Chica cutouts, and the puppet emerging from a prize box. We also see a mysterious arcade cabinet, though for now it is out of order. Paul Bear assures the protagonist that he can send him back to the real world whenever he wants, but asks for some help with some unfinished business in return. Paul Bear is unable to complete this task himself as he is dead. By taking care of this unfinished business, he will be able to move over to the afterlife. Paul Bear even offers to help out in our investigation, and so a partnership begins. The protagonist agreeing to meet Paul Bear once more the following night. And so the investigation at Junior's commences, with our protagonist monitoring paranormal activity at the restaurant over a security camera feed from the relative safety of the maintenance room. Paul Bear operates as a ghost in the machine, able to send us messages through our laptop, which provides survival tips as a ghostly figure moves from one animatronic to the next. This ghost girl is never named, and so it is impossible to know for sure her true identity. It seems her presence in the restaurant is the unfinished business Paul Bear was talking about, and the reason why Junior's closed down to begin with. He tells us he has been hiding from this ghost, who will take his soul if she locates him. And so, a mission to exorcise this malicious spirit commences.
Part 2. Ghost hunting.
Each night, the player must identify which of Junior's animatronics are haunted as the ghost moves from one to the next. The way we identify a haunting is by paying close attention to our camera feed and watching for telltale signs. For example, if an animatronic enters a room and the lights begin to flicker, or a human handprint appears on the camera lens, then we know the ghost is present. However, the ghost has a few tricks up her sleeve. One of these is to inhabit the marionette, who does not appear on cameras but instead can be heard by her music box when we turn on the audio function. Likewise, the ghost can haunt Balloon Baby, who only appears as a glitching icon on our laptop screen. This laptop screen shows the stability of the animatronics, and when this percentage drops to 0, it results in a game over and very bad news for our hapless hero.
Oh, God.
To avoid a sticky end, we must periodically call non-haunted animatronics down the conveyor belt to the maintenance room and then repair them by installing a fresh battery pack. If we guess the incorrect animatronic when trying to locate the ghost, then the values of these stability percentages drop across the board, so correctly picking who the spirit haunts is super important.
Part 3, the animatronics explained.
Now let's take a quick look at each of the animatronics encountered during the first 5 nights of our investigation. FNAF Juniors has a menu page accessible after completing the game with detailed character descriptions for each of the terrifying designs. These read as follows. Freddy. This iteration of Freddy is much taller and lankier than most. He's rocking his iconic top hat and bow tie, but both are outfitted with a plaid material. Bonnie. Similar to Freddy, this iteration of Bonnie is much lankier than most other designs. He's been given a pair of stylish glasses, and his colour has shifted from a dark indigo to a tealish shade of blue. Chica. This iteration of Chica is not moving around food, but rather sleeping. She dons a nightgown, a sleeping cap, and her cupcake has a binky. How adorable. This pirate-themed iteration of Foxy is withered to maintain that iconic look that everyone loves. We wanted to push that theme a little further with the inclusion of lots and lots of piercings. Balloon Baby. This iteration of Balloon Boy isn't a boy at all, he's actually a baby, hence the name. In an attempt to capture that eerie vibe, his face was made more doll-like. As always, he's holding his balloons and wearing the iconic propeller hat. The Marinette. With her lengthy, spindly body, this iteration of a marionette or puppet is more ragdoll-like. She's also been given a nose and a set of ears to add to that creepy doll look that made her so iconic in Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Part 4.
The further into Juniors we progress, the more of its mysterious backstory is revealed. We get some of these reveals delivered through a series of old VHS tapes, which our protagonist uncovers after completing certain shifts. The first tape is labelled Episode 1. On this tape is a claymation animation. It shows Freddy walking up to a door labelled Beware the Mangle. Freddy holds an animatronic arm in his hands, which he then presents to a shadowy figure as it emerges from the room. The second VHS tape is labelled Episode 2. This time, Bonnie and Freddy sit at a table in the pizzeria. Freddy pieces together a drawing of Mangle, as if assembling it. Mangle then seems to speak to Freddy and influence him. We then see the ghost inhabiting Freddy transfer over to Bonnie. After this transfer completes, it is Bonnie who now delivers an animatronic appendage to the Mangle's door. The tape ends with a photograph of Bonnie and Freddy laughing together, this suggesting they are both now under the Mangle's control. The third tape is labelled I Know You Are With Him, this telling us that the Ghost Girl is aware of the protagonist and his partnership with Paul Bear. On this tape we see footage of Chica sound asleep and dreaming of pizza. Bonnie ominously peers over the foot of her bed, and Chica's dreams alter as the ghost transfers into her body. Chica then completes the Mangle's construction by bringing it to the final endo piece. Now before viewing the final tape, we should take a moment to catch up on the story unfolding between the protagonist and his new acquaintance Paul Bear. After relaying the information found on these tapes, Paul Bear deduces that the Mangle is a new body the ghost is trying to build for herself. This body will allow her to become far more powerful and therefore harder to stop. With the protagonist getting ready to finish his investigation, time is of the essence. The duo must stop the ghost before the Mangle finishes construction. To do this, they decide to take the ghost by surprise by sneaking into her lair located in the restaurant's basement. This brings us to the fourth and final VHS tape. This one is labelled Falling Down. Its footage is symbolic, showing us children's drawings of various animatronics at Junior's as they are tainted by a black goop. Some of these drawings are bloodied, suggesting that much like the other Fazbear establishments, murderous activity went down at Junior's. We then witness the three iconic animatronics, Bonnie, Chica and Freddy, standing with their offerings as the Mangle descends from above. These tapes symbolize how the Mangle takes pieces from each of the animatronics under the control of the ghost, leaving them in a withered state.
Oh,
Yeesh.
Paul Bear knows of a secret entrance leading into the basement, and so our protagonist takes it into the heart of darkness for a final showdown with the Ghost Girl. Longtime FNAF fans will recognise this setting and the gameplay mechanics. They are lifted from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This telling us the location of Junior's is the same location as FNAF 2, and therefore also the same location as the original restaurant, Fredbear's Family Diner. Important points to keep in mind as we move into the theory portion of this video. In this basement we encounter the withered animatronics, their parts used to create the Mangle midway through this night. As with FNAF 2, when these animatronics show up, we must hide behind the Bonnie mask. Balloon Baby can also disable our flashlight if we don't keep an eye on him, and this flashlight is needed to keep Foxy at bay as he appears down the hallway. Finally, the music box must be wound to avoid a nasty jump scare, courtesy of the puppet. After these animatronics have merged with the Mangle, she takes over the fight during Phase 2, in combination with the Ghost, who appears on various camera feeds in an attempt to break the cameras and our light. Mangle is able to look into the room using her owl tail, so we must hide behind the Bonnie mask whenever this occurs. If Mangle shows up down the hallway, she must be flashed, just as with Foxy. To dispel the ghost, we must shine the camera light on her until she vanishes. These mechanics sound simple enough, but this is a tough fight, and balancing power is tricky. Before we head into the final section of this video, and break down the ending of FNAF Junior's, let's take a quick look at each of the withered animatronics as described in-game. Withered Freddy. During the final act of Junior's, Freddy was torn to shreds, leaving him with only one eye and a massive scar down his right eye. Withered Bonnie. Bonnie's face was torn off by Mangle and used as a mask by the player. Withered Bonnie shares almost identical features to his design in FNAF 2. Withered Chica. Chica's jaw has been torn apart and ripped open much like her design in FNAF 2. She probably got the most damage out of the entire cast. Poor Chica. Withered Foxy. In Junior's final act, Foxy takes quite the beating. His left ear is completely torn off. However, he was already pretty withered to begin with. Withered Balloon Baby. Much like Marinette, Balloon Baby's porcelain head is completely shattered during Junior's final act. The cracks on his face reveal a creepy endoskeleton beneath. Withered Marinette. In Junior's final act, the Marinette is completely shattered by Mangle, revealing her horrifying visage. The Mangle. The Mangle is absolutely giant. Over time, the ghost haunting Junior's building built it as her final form, using different pieces of animatronic endoskeletons to create this monstrosity. During the final act, all the withered animatronics hop on a conveyor system, sacrificing themselves to finish the Mangle.
Part 6. Ending Explained.
After reaching 6 AM and outlasting the ghost's attempts to merge with Mangle, she instead tries to merge with the protagonist, forcing her way inside his mind to gain access to the Barons and track down Paul Bear. The ghost girl begins to strangle Paul Bear, telling him there is no more hiding beneath the costume anymore. This tells us that Paul Bear is another young child, so who could he be? Well, we are given a few clues as to the identity of this child as we journey through the game. In an earlier cutscene, Paul Bear mentions how he is very lonely, and only the other spirits keep him company. We also know that Paul Bear is of timid demeanour, asking the protagonist for help as he is too scared to face the animatronics and Ghost Girl himself. These traits line up perfectly with a very familiar Five Nights at Freddy's character, the crying child. commonly believed to be Evan Afton. The crying child died at the original Fazbear location, Fredbear's Family Diner, after being stuffed inside Freddy's animatronic mouth by his brother Michael. A prank that went very wrong. After passing away, Crying Child ended up with only the other spirits for company. It all lines up. Even the name Pallbear is a play on the word pallbearer, a person who carries a coffin at a funeral. So, if Pallbear is Crying Child, then who is the ghost girl? Well, this is a little harder to pin down. It seems most likely that she is meant to be Cassidy. This is because Cassidy was the most vicious of all the child victims, and would have had a reason to come after Crying Child, as he was the son of her murderer, William Afton, the man who robbed her of her life. The ghost tells Pallbear she will destroy him and then his little puppet, but before the conversation concludes, she is stabbed in the back by the protagonist. At this point, the story abruptly ends, and the following text plays out. After 5 years, JR's would later reopen. It would go over heavy rebranding, as some still had a somewhat negative impression of the company. Fazbear Entertainment is now more committed than ever to family fun and, above all, safety. They spent a small fortune on these new animatronics. Anyway, Jeremy, when do you think you can start? This text seems to be coming from a manager at the newly refurbished Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. New animatronics are mentioned, these referencing the friendly redesigned toy animatronics from FNAF 2. Essentially, this dialogue is a setup for the second game in the FNAF franchise, and the conversation had between management and new employee Jeremy Fitzgerald, the central protagonist of that game. This entire time, Juniors has been the prequel story to FNAF 2, bridging the gap between the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, where Crying Child's demise took place, the murders of William Afton, which led to the birth of vengeful spirit Cassidy, and finally the reopening of a restaurant whereby Jeremy accepted his position of night guard. Juniors explains the state of the withered animatronics, the true origin of the mangle, and tells the prequel story many have asked series creator Scott Cawthon for. It's certainly an interesting take on the lore, and a fantastic fan game to boot. The only question remaining is, were we playing as Jeremy the entire time? Was Jeremy the unnamed protagonist, now returning to take a job as a night guard to keep Cassidy in check and prevent disaster from striking once again? I'll leave you to come to your own conclusions on that one. One final secret you discover comes when we return to the main menu and click continue. We now unlock free roam mode, whereby we can explore the barrens and collect up 4 floating prize boxes. These unlock a cryptic looking map on the title screen made up from 4 torn pages. They appear to mark out a level layout. Head back into the barrens and we can finally access that previously out of order arcade cabinet and play the Bonnie themed minigame Carrot Craze. Using the map, we can locate an area within this level that unlocks a secret message from Pallbear. The message reads, "Hey buddy, it's me, Pallbear. If you ever need me for an investigation or whatever, just call me. See you soon." This message suggests that Pallbear's fate was a happy one, and by extension, the child spirit within that suit ended up escaping the ghost, ready to be called upon should ever the occasion arise. And with that, we come to the end of this look at the story and animatronics of FNAF Juniors Explained. I hope you found this video both entertaining and informative. And if you did, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more horror-related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.
Okay, so that was the third video.
Also, look
Do
at
you guys
somebody
have
said.
any like comments about that one? Hold up. That. Okay, so do you guys have any comments on that video?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I feel like the similarities from that is just like the same.
I have to agree on that. I mean, the similarities are way too lined up just because of it.
Yeah. And it does seem weird because if you think about it, from one of the other FNAF games, we met Mangle. This basically this video it seems like it literally explains the origins of Mangle herself.
Yeah. We were never meant to. Neither of the other games explained who Mangle was.
Yeah, until now.
Right. But this doesn't make any sense.
True. Okay, so that was the third video, everyone. Now, we're going on to the fourth video.
The final one.
Yeah, the final one. But this video, my mom is fearful on.
Please not Choo Charles. I hate that spider.
She hates this character. Its name is Choo Choo Charles. A lot of you will recognize the name from the iconic game of Choo Choo Charles. I have not yet had the pleasure to play the game myself.
Me neither.
It looks so damn scary.
But apparently
once I get the hang of it.
She has played the game before, haven't you?
I've seen people play the game. Oh, God.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen many people play the game too.
Give me heebie-jeebies. Give me heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, not me. I don't find it that scary. I just honestly don't find that thing that scary.
Sure. Okay, everyone, now let's move on to the very last video. Choo Choo Charles.
Now this ought to be interesting. Let's dance.
Hey guys, Mike here, and in today's video we explore the island of Aranerum as we try to defeat a killer spider train named Charles. But where did Charles come from, and what is the sinister backstory behind this island and its kooky cast of characters? Well, sit back, relax, and let's dive into the story of Choo Choo Charles in this episode of Horror Games Explained.
The origin of Charles.
Choo Choo Charles is an 8-legged spider train who relentlessly chases down anything in his path. If we see Charles while exploring the open world of Aranerum, then we must launch a counterattack using a barrage of weapons unlocked throughout our adventure. Everything from machine guns to flamethrowers. Dealing enough damage sends the spider train scurrying for the hills to lick his wounds and regroup when stronger. While we are not given any concrete information as to where Charles originated from, we can garner some snippets of telling information from various notes discoverable across the game.
Okay, so from what I'm so basically from this image, what it looks like is like Charles used to be a normal train from what it looks like.
Get that thing out of my screen, get out of my screen, get out of my screen, get out of the screen!
Calm down. It's just an image.
Yeah, so looking at this image, basically, I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of the iconic children's film Thomas the Tank Engine, but from the way it's looking, Charles kind of reminds me of like that film of that Charles TV show.
Thomas the Tank Engine. I've heard of it before.
Yeah, basically, if you like take a closer look at it, it's a train, of course, but it also has a little face. Every single tank engine from Thomas literally has a face and can talk. So this basically leads me to believe that this setting somehow matches the literal Thomas films.
Please, can you move on? Please, can you move on?
Game world. From a stone tablet we find, it appears that Charles existed on this island since the days of the caveman, who battled him with spears centuries ago. After laying dormant for many years, it appears to have been a mining operation that awakened Charles from his ancient slumber. When looking at Charles, we notice his train carriage features the Charles Mining Company logo. This suggests that this demonic spider was awakened in a spiritual form, then taking his physical form inside one of the mining company trains. It was a rich landowner named Warren Charles III who was responsible for populating the island with a group of miners and their families. Warren hired these people to dig for gold in the mines that had belonged to his family for generations. After Warren discovered some odd-looking ruins in one of the southern mines, he tasked his mining teams with seeking out similar structures and excavating around them. Digging around these grand ruins led to the discovery of some mystical eggs. These eggs were situated in caverns deep below the ground. Warren Charles threatened to kill anyone who went near these eggs before they hatched, but also instructed his team to kill whatever emerged from the egg immediately. It seems he was aware of a creature living inside, and the danger it may pose if allowed to live. We learn from the same notes that Warren was in great financial debt, and this may have been the catalyst which led him from seeking out veins of gold to mine and instead to turn to spider train eggs. One inhabitant of the island, a man named Greg, even believed that Warren was trying to summon an army of spider trains in a bid for world domination. Other islanders took a more sympathetic view of the man. Gale, for example, believed that once Warren discovered these eggs were connected to the demonic spider train, he then set out to hide and protect them in a bid to keep the other inhabitants of Aranerum safe.
Here's one thing you need to do before buying anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
Previously, a mysterious temple had been found at the heart of the island, containing a prism with hollowed out points to place the spider eggs. The eggs seemed indestructible, but this prism acted as a weapon to dispose of them. However, their destruction came at a cost. When the islanders inserted the eggs into this prism, it released a massive energy, which summoned Charles and sent him on a violent killing spree. During this spree, it was said that he grew to twice the size and took on an even more hellish appearance. This event led Warren to recruit a cult army to guard the eggs and forbid anyone from leaving the island until Charles was destroyed. These cult members took the 3 remaining eggs and hid them in mines around the island, protecting them with orders to kill on sight from their commander, Warren Charles. Each of these cultists wear hideous masks that slightly resemble the face of the killer spider train himself. It is never revealed exactly what Warren's true intentions were. My best guess is that he sought out the sacred eggs believing they could be sold for millions, saving him from his bankruptcy. But then, at some point, Warren realized how dangerous these eggs were, and how their discovery had unleashed Charles's wrath. He wanted to cover up this information so that no one on the mainland would ever find out and attempt to salvage the eggs, dooming humanity in the process. Essentially, Warren seems like he is working for the greater good, even if it means sacrificing a few of his workers in the process. Of course, the public didn't see it like that, as they watched their friends and families perish before their eyes. We also discover that many of the islanders believed the spider train to be a demonic entity straight from the depths of hell. The local preacher even gave sermons to this effect, where he urged his congregation to consider offering up sacrifices to appease Charles's insatiable appetite for flesh. It seems that many of the island's inhabitants went quite mad as a result of Charles's presence, seeking any way to save themselves from his wrath. For the citizens of Aranerum, it seems all hope is lost, stranded on a remote island at the mercy of a killer spider train, with Warren Charles and his army of cultists safeguarding the only way to summon and trap Charles, the 3 eggs. Eugene, an elderly member of the community with access to a boat, sets off for the mainland, where he contacts an old friend simply known as the Archivist. The Archivist is the main protagonist of Choo Choo Charles' narrative, and we learn that they and Eugene have worked together in the past. From a note collected during our adventure, it seems as though Eugene has alluded to his involvement with the Archivist being supernatural in nature, with the two performing magical rituals, perhaps to exorcise evil that has troubled other communities in the past. The townsfolk also refer to our character as the Monster Hunter, so this suggests the Archivist has a reputation for slaying mythological beasts, just like the demonic spider train Charles. Upon reaching the island, Eugene leads the Archivist up a forest trail and to an old train depot, where he has prepared a train for them to board. This locomotive belongs to the Warren Charles Mining Company, however it has since been modified with a gun turret so that we can take the fight to Charles. As we make our way through the game, we must collect up scrap metal that can be exchanged for train upgrades. These include faster speed, higher weapon damage, and more resilient armor plating. Eugene and the Archivist leave the station and begin their journey through the wilds of Anariram. But within seconds they are attacked by Charles, and Eugene is pulled from the train and mauled to death. In the aftermath of this conflict, a dying Eugene tells our hero to seek out his son Paul, who will give him details on how to locate the 3 eggs and summon Charles for a final death match.
I don't have time to explain. Find the eggs. Find my son.
I feel different when around this guy. I just...
About something crazy.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad for the guy.
Here,
Yeah,
let me get
who-
some snuggles for you. Snuggles.
Thanks.
Yeah, who? What? He was just an innocent man.
Who led us to a certain journey in order to take down Charles, but lost his own life in the process.
Yeah. But as they always say, sacrifices must be made.
For the greater good.
Like you want to sacrifice anything for me.
Yes. Sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Even if it means your own life.
Yeah, but now here's the thing about William Charles III. Although the guy is saying that he just wanted the eggs for because he was possibly bankrupt.
No, it said it was. It said he was.
Yeah, but he would. But if you think about it, those eggs also contained untold power. Just 3 of those eggs made Charles into a hell version.
You gotta point out that.
But at some point during during the ending of it all, it will literally show you an underground underground that there's tons more of those eggs of where than just those 3 came from.
Well, yeah. There's gonna be a surprise at the ending that you're not gonna believe.
Yeah.
Wait, you watched this, right?
Yes.
I haven't watched it.
Now stranded on the island with their mission in hand, the Archivists must seek out islanders in need of assistance. These are marked on the in-train map, a mixture of side quests which reveal additional lore, as well as affording us new weapons and scrap, and main missions which provide the eggs needed to summon Charles. First, let's take a brief look at each and every side quest available and what each entails. Candice is a young woman who has been asked to pass on scrap metal to the Archivist by Eugene. Her mission is very simple. We just need to access the 2nd floor of our house, unlock the door, and collect the scrap within. The next side quest sees us meeting up with Tony Tiddle, a gruff old cowboy who has a barn full of scrap for us to pillage. The 3rd mission is a little more advanced. We meet Daryl, a brutish man who has been punching a chest to try and open it. The chest is locked up tight, and so Daryl offers us a lockpick set to try and crack it. This requires hitting several points on a rotating wheel at just the right time. Eventually, the chest opens and we discover an ancient stone tablet within. Return this to Daryl and we are rewarded with scrap. In the depths of the swamplands lives the unhinged witch Lisbeth Murkwater. She tasks the player with finding a key ingredient for her stew pot, the rotting carcass of a fish that has washed up on a nearby beach. To retrieve the fish, we must wade through the murky swamp while being careful to evade a monstrous creature living beneath its surface known as Barry. Return the carcass to Lisbeth and her recipe is complete, but let's not stick around for a taste test. Sergeant Flint can be found stood outside a burning barn. He explains that he built a flamethrower called bug spray to try and combat Charles, but accidentally set his lab ablaze while testing it out. By putting out the inferno with a nearby water tower, we are in return gifted the bug spray weapon, which can then be fitted to the train to help fight against Charles. By the docks along the coastline, we meet Santiago, who has packed up his bags and is waiting for the next boat from the mainland to arrive so he may escape. However, he has forgotten his precious diary, and so we must travel across the island to his house, collect it up, and return it. Doing so rewards us with more scrap to upgrade our arsenal. The next character is John Flynn, a gunsmith with an axe to grind against Warren Charles III. Warren had many of his miners move their families out to the island so he could better control any potential information from making its way to the mainland. Many of these families ended up dying to the rampant spider train, and it seems John's was one of them. John has built a rocket launcher and offers to loan it out to the archivist in return for taking the fight to both Warren and Charles. To procure the launcher, we must first journey to a nearby bunker, use explosives to blow it open, and then retrieve the ammunition stashed inside. Theodore is found at the train depot in the center of the island. He tasks us with collecting up a mysterious box which has fallen into the hands of a camp of nearby cultists. If we return this box to Theodore in one piece, then we are rewarded with scrap metal to upgrade our train in return. After making our way to the lighthouse along the coastline, we encounter a young woman named Claire, nursing a broken leg after a close encounter with Charles. We learn from Claire that the remaining members of the community have banded together and are plotting to take Warren down. They also need to find a way off the island, and so getting the lighthouse back in working order so they can signal for help is paramount. With this in mind, Claire asks the archivist to seek out 4 fuses and repair the lighthouse. Once this task is complete, it shines back to life and signals the mainland for help. The next side quest is another random one which lampoons.
Oh god. If anyone remembers this iconic, like this kind of iconic thing?
Under the 8 pages.
Yes. If anyone remembers this kind of iconic theme, this basically symbolizes like the very game itself of Slenderman, where you have to go through a forest and find 8 pages just to beat him.
But with each one you collect, Slenderman gets stronger.
Exactly.
Popular indie horror game Slender: The 8 Pages. A woman named Sasha has been haunted by a local ghost in the woods. This ghoulish figure has been pinning up strange drawings of the spider.
This really does sound almost all like Slenderman.
But look at that thing.
It says 8, not 7.
Yeah, and if you think about it, even when Slenderman gets close, you also get this you also get that static effect too.
Yeah. Don't even remind me of them.
This thing is this creature is also giving the protagonist and himself that same exact static effect.
Spider train by night, and Sasha is too afraid to brave the woods and remove them, so asks if we will complete this task in return for some scrap. The mission plays out exactly like Slender: The 8 Pages, as with each page we collect, the ghost becomes faster and...
See what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Look at that thing.
Yeah, that thing is of like literal nightmares when you think about it.
Yeah.
And more relentless. Collecting up all pages seems to banish them back to the grave.
Basically, it's like the exact same way for Slenderman. Like all 8, and boom, you beat him.
One of the oddest side quests is surely that involving the Pickle Lady.
Oh
The
god.
last jar of pickles I had in my house, and there's only one jar of pickles left on the island. My secret jar of pickles, locked away inside my pickle cave.
After asking us to retrieve her precious pickles from the Pickle Cave, we must make our way to an old mine site and pick the lock of the chest located within. Inside is the jar of pickles, and if we return them, the Pickle Lady gleefully hands over a bunch of scrap as payment for our trouble. Ronnie is the most unlikable character on the island. He talks down to the archivist as he demands they climb a nearby tower to retrieve a folder full of worker records from a filing cabinet at the top. These records were confiscated by Warren so that none of his workers could sue him, and Ronnie wishes to do just that. Payback for the danger that he has been subjected to at the hands of his old employer. This mission requires some nifty platforming skills as we must scale 2 separate towers, leaping between them where necessary. Eventually we retrieve the files and return them to Ronnie for some scrap. The final side quest belongs to this rather angry woman named Gertrude. She lost her husband Bob to the spider train and now wishes to see justice for his untimely demise. Gertrude sees the archivist as the executioner, the one to exact that sweet revenge against Charles, and so offers up parts of a deadly Gatling gun to help destroy him. The only catch is that the rest of the gun is under cult ownership at one of their bases further inland, so we must journey to this base, destroy the cult, and then retrieve the other half of the gun. Upon doing so, we construct this very powerful endgame weapon, a weapon we name Bob in memory of Gertrude's late husband.
The ending explained.
With the needs of the people fulfilled, it's time for our hapless hero to finally take down Charles and save the island from his murderous reign. To do this, we must collect up the 3 eggs. Each of these eggs is kept under lock and key within one of the various mineshafts around the island, guarded by the cultists that work for Warren. However, their locations are known by 3 characters. These characters are Helen, Greg, and Gale. Each of these people mark an egg location on our map, and it is then up to the archivist to sneak through the mines and swipe each egg from right under the noses of the cultists on patrol. Once all 3 eggs have been retrieved, then we meet up with Eugene's son Paul at the Anarirum Municipal Building.
If you haven't already heard from the others, the mine boss Warren is protecting dangerous monster eggs that could lead to catastrophe. While our main plan is to summon Charles into a duel and fight him to the death, we've devised a perfect trap as a precaution that may help defeat him.
Paul explains that to defeat Charles we must place the eggs in a prism located in the heart of the island's temple. This will summon Charles, though he will also become more powerful to boot, drawing power from the eggs as they are drained by the temple's prism. This is exactly what Warren is trying to avoid. But unlike Warren, Paul believes there is a way to defeat Charles. His master plan involves rigging explosives to the tallest bridge on the island and then detonating them as the arachnid terror chases the archivist across. This plan is only possible if Charles is enraged by the destruction of his eggs and sufficiently damaged during the battle that follows. And so, the plan is decided. We plant the explosives and then head over to the temple where the eggs are placed down and Charles is summoned, but not before Warren shows up to try and stop the archivist first.
Step away from the shrine, stranger. You don't know what you're doing. Just put the egg down slowly and lay flat on the ground. You'll hurt far too many people if you follow through with whatever you're planning.
Oh, please. I can make it a bit good.
No! No! You
Time to go even further beyond.
Italy.
That's right. You're not gonna like his secondary form.
If anyone does not recognize the iconic yellow, you can say goodbye to Warren Charles III.
Rip.
Rest in
Rip.
peace.
Also hashtag karma.
Rest in
Hashtag
peace.
karma and hashtag Rip in the comment section, please and thank you. You know, his dumbass deserved it.
Exactly. His dumbass really did deserve it.
Anyways, let's continue on. After this, I'll have to head the baby too.
Warren and his cult members meet a sticky end at the hands of Charles,
too.
who proceeds to chase down the archivist as they speed towards the
After
rigged
the live
bridge
stream.
on their train.
Okay.
A long and perilous battle follows.
Just said it's after.
Charles is now both more powerful and dangerous than ever before in his evolved Hell form. But eventually the two opponents reach the bridge, and Paul detonates the explosives, sending the spider train hurtling down into the valley below, where he is impaled on a spike and finally dies. All seems well. The islanders have been saved, Warren and his cult defeated, and the spider train vanquished. However, beneath the surface of the island in the uncharted cave systems, a shocking discovery is made. Thousands of new eggs have been laid, each containing a new demonic train to rain down terror upon humanity should they hatch, meaning that this is very much a story to be continued down the line. And with that, we come to the end of this look at the story of Choo Choo Charles Explained. If you enjoyed this video, then remember to leave a like, comments down below, and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.
Okay, so that was the very last video. Okay, so. Okay, who is Ravi?
Only person just came in your live stream.
Alright, okay. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this Saiyan Family reaction stream, and I hope you all have a good night. If you guys have anything to say before we cut it off here.
Peace out, and I'll do a live stream like next week.
Yeah.
This is Dragon Ball AMVs here, and I'll be seeing you all in the next week's video, because I'll be doing one next time.
And this is Beast Gohan. Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Peace out. And the Saiyan Family is signing out.
Adios.